Farmers don't have to be afraid of attracting birds. They can support them with nest boxes, hedgerows, and trees on the farm, and enhance habitat restoration at the landscape scale. And doing so will promote avian pest control and reduce food safety risk and crop damage. We all know that some birds on some farms cause problems and others don't. Exciting research is pointing out that how we manage our farms and the surrounding landscape makes the difference. Attracting birds with nest boxes and habitat and conserving and restoring surrounding riparian and other natural areas tend to support diverse bird communities. These diverse bird communities are less likely to cause problems and more likely to provide pest control. Songbird nest boxes, perches, and habitat will support insectivores, those birds that predominantly eat insects, like flycatchers that are scouring the air for insects, like nuthatches that are foraging for insects on the bark of trees, and like bluebirds that are looking for insects on vines and in bushes and in the soil. Nest boxes, perches, and trees support carnivorous birds, the hawks and falcons and owls, while they are feeding lots of rodents to their young. Some do an incredible job. Barn owls, for instance. A pair of barn owls and their 4 young will eat up to 3,000 rodents over the course of a year. Even the omnivorous birds, those birds with a varied diet, like the American robin that uses nest shells or habitat, do good work during the nesting season. They and other birds need to feed their young a high-protein diet. Or other omnivores, like those in the crow family that will eat nuts before the harvest and then come in afterwards and clean up the mummy nuts that would otherwise carry pests and diseases into the next cropping season. In our bird booklet, Supporting Beneficial Birds and Managing Pest Birds, we report that about 90% of the 120 avian pest control studies are showing that birds are beneficial. About 1/3 of those studies show that there's decreased crop damage and or increased yield or increased growth. And about half of those studies are showing that it's important to have nearby habitat or nearby nest boxes. By conserving or restoring diversity in a larger landscape, farmers in a region can help reduce bird damage. If a farm is surrounded by semi-natural habitat, that is grassland, shrublands, forests, or wetlands, that increases the diversity and reduces the prevalence of birds that are flocking in large groups like blackbirds and European starlings. And these are the birds that cause the most damage to crops like grapes and berries and sunflowers. These species prefer to forage in open areas in the interiors of fields and away from habitat. And by doing so, they are avoiding predators because it's really hard for a predator to pick out and kill any one of them. They hone in on monocultures that will meet their extensive food needs as opposed to a diverse landscape where it's hard for them to make a living. Conversely, a farm surrounded by landscape diversity means there's going to be a diverse community of birds, the insectivores, the carnivores, and omnivores, and that will mean reduced crop damage. Sometimes farmers worry that any kind of habitat will encourage birds to eat their crop. However, research in sunflowers, where they looked at fields with hedgerows and without hedgerows, those with the hedgerows supported beneficial insects that provided pest control. And in this situation, the birds themselves didn't provide pest control, but neither did they cause crop damage. Consider that while a hedgerow from the ground view may look like a lot of habitat, from the bird's eye view, large flocks see that as small and not that attractive as compared to a large ripening field. On-farm diversity cannot support these large flocks, and so while they may temporarily stop at a hedgerow, they're looking for the crop itself. In certain situations, bird damage can occur in the crop next to a hedgerow by small flocking birds like white-crowned sparrows. To reduce this impact, growers will sometimes plant an alternate crop that they're not attracted to, like onions. They'll use row cover, or sometimes they'll put small perches up by that crop from which hawks can hunt. These few bird species that become pests along the field edge can also be discouraged by alternating the use of visual and sound scaring tactics. When coexisting with birds in their habitat, farmers gain other benefits like increased numbers of pollinators and beneficial insects, and improved water quality and wind protection, to name a few. Farmers need not worry about birds in their habitat increasing food safety risk. Research shows that most birds have a very low risk of carrying pathogens, and taking out habitat does not improve food safety on the farm. Rather, if anything, pathogen prevalence seems to increase on farms that have removed habitat. As a result, farms surrounded by ungrazed semi-natural habitat seem to have reduced food safety risk. On the other hand, the few birds that can be a higher risk tend to frequent high pathogen areas, such as cowbirds in CAFOs and crows in garbage dumps. Greater farm and landscape complexity generally increases bird diversity and their benefits. Therefore, instead of trying to always discourage birds from being pests, we should increase farm habitat and support that surrounding semi-natural habitat so that we can benefit from birds. Working on a landscape scale will take a concerted effort on the part of farmers, other land managers, and community members. The power of a committed group of people is a great way to make change. Change for birds and for farms. Build it and they will come, and provide pest control.